Welcome to Creative Current, a podcast for those of us who want to get caught up in our creativity.
We're Jess and Jen, two friends and creatives who met in tech and realized we both spoke the same language of possibility, imagination, and creation.
We believe that creativity is a living force, powerful and magnetic. Like a current, you don't control it. And when you stop fighting it and let it move you, you realize it leads you to where you wanted to be all along.
This podcast is about staying with that current through self-doubt, uncertainty, and loneliness, and trusting that your creativity is worth it.
Over the next 12 weeks, we'll be following the artist's way, and we'll be discussing the chapters and our experiences doing the work. We see it as an opportunity to explore the depths of creativity and its connection to life's biggest questions and possibilities in a collaborative, community-building way.
We're really glad you're here. Okay, we are recording.
Welcome to week 8, Jess.
Welcome to week 8. Oh my goodness.
I think this is maybe one of the longest chapters that we've read in a while. So we know that that means that there is a lot of material.
Yes. So in this chapter,
which is called Recovering a Sense of Strength.
Thank you. Okay. So themes that come up, it's how intellectualism can interfere with creativity, gain disguised as loss.
There's one about like creative wounds and willingness or unwillingness to acknowledge them and allow them to heal.
Age and time. Oh my gosh. Like this is a headline, age and time, product and process. So what are the excuses that we're creating around how much time we have to do our creative projects or how old we are? And then filling the form, which is
like taking the next step.
Yeah. Small steps.
Small steps. Yeah. All right, Jess, what really stands out? I mean, again, that's a lot of topics, a lot of breadth in this chapter. So when you reflect on the week and what you've read, what stands out to you the most?
One of the bigger themes that stood out to me was the interference of intellectualism. And I think I should like take a second to break that down. So I think for people who are not reading the book, it might be like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. And what does it mean to you? I'd love to hear that.
That's a great question. Okay. So here's a few things that stuck with me that she had to say about intellectualism. So she says, creativity cannot be comfortably quantified in intellectual terms. In a university where the intellectual life is built upon the art of criticizing, on deconstructing a creative work, the art of creation itself, the art of creative construction, meets with scanty support, understanding, or approval. And then this line really stood out to me. Whatever its genuine accomplishments, it was viewed solely in terms of its shortfalls. So I think for me, when I was reading this, it feels like I experienced a lot of what she's describing as intellectualism and the critique within my workplaces, and still feeling like it's wrapped inside of me and has now sort of become my own blocker or like a set of hands that's very protective on then how I express myself and resulting in some limiting beliefs and limiting actions.
Are the limiting beliefs and actions that you feel, is that related to your own like creative work outside of any sort of tech work or contract work, or is it related to work in general?
Yeah, I think unfortunately it's like it's seeped in a little bit. For example, I do want to write more personal essays, and every time I start to write an essay for Substack, I will start to edit it within paragraph 2. And I read something recently, I cannot remember how I found this, but the advice from this person who was writing very prolifically was finish the entire first draft without editing a single thing. And then what I observed was that it's so hard for me not to critique immediately what comes out for fears of judgment or like this imaginary approver that needs to look over the work. And then I think what's even more underneath it is what does it mean if it sounds a little naive or if it sounds a little imperfect? And I think what I have sort of internalized, unfortunately, of what that means is that people won't be interested, and that's not quality. And in fact, people will think worse of you. And it's like, nobody ever said any of these things, but by the nature of that being unacceptable, I'm finding that it's requiring a very active practice to loosen the grips and re-examine how can I change the meaning of all of that into the power of authenticity, the self-loving of accepting exactly where I'm at. If something comes out a little naive, how can I sit there and love it and see the beauty and know that other people might actually be at that place with me? Um, this is a this
Mm.
is a this is this is a deep one. I don't know that I've actually articulated all of this.
It is. I mean, it is really deep because what I'm hearing you say, can you tell me if this sounds right? Um, is that like maybe what you were tasked with and like the standards you were held up to create against in your work was like to be the best, to be the leader, to be like completely sure of yourself, to like get response that's unwavering, probably, Um, which is only possible as a ploy in marketing, probably. Like it's not a real human, right? Like that's not a real human experience, you know?
Yeah.
And you're now wanting to create something that's very human and true to you.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it's like how can I how can we all become more accepting of our humanity and distance ourselves a little bit from the perfection and moving toward just like accepting the way that I'm being.
I love that.
Okay.
I
Um,
oh, can I ask one more question?
yeah, yeah.
Something that's curious to me is how much do you associate the work you've done in tech as your art or your creative work?
Oh my gosh. I do consider some projects my work. That's a really interesting question, Jen. I think I see creative elements that come out of it. But I suppose the work that I'm doing on the side of tech feels a lot different. And
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a good thing. Like the other thesis I'm playing with these days is sometimes we would put out in one of my workplaces a video that was a little bit more unpolished, where somebody was just speaking off the cuff authentically. It wasn't too long. And like those videos performed so well. And I will say, I think my last workplace really tried to embrace this authentic way of being, like ditching the corporate polish. And those are beautiful traits. And just so I sometimes wonder if we've gone wrong with marketing at times. And like, how can I rearrange more of my practice into letting the authentic feel safe to be seen? And what happens when we bring that back into a contract project that I really love? Does that, I kind of, I wonder if that leads that to more success rather than working from these playbook templates that everybody does all the time. But have we lost some of the just one-on-one rawness of connection? So I think I'm trying to play with this yeah, can I build more outside? Can I strengthen all these muscles to then be strong enough to bring them into a
Yes,
different
yes,
environment that's a
yes.
little too rigid sometimes.
Yes, I love this. So then your actual art, your work becomes your work, and you can
Yeah.
express that through these other means and channels that might, you know, have the more traditional form of work, but like your work is your true actual expression. That's beautiful. I think now that you've articulated it, this will come to be. Because I think that is like the ultimate goal of a creative and of an artist. Um,
This is the artist way is helping.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
I'm going to pause. Jen, what came up for you this week out of this chapter of so many, so many
So many
parts?
things. So many things. So I did reread the chapter again this morning, and I'm really glad I did. I definitely had a pretty apparent experience of the creative artist wound flare up, and I had to resolve that. So that was interesting, and reading it again and seeing how she starts the chapter with that and then talks about some of the ways that these wounds can come up was helpful to read. And then the loss as gain. I think that one really, really resonates with me. So yeah, let me read this one little thing in here. So she's quoting a film director named John Cassavetes, who maybe people know. I'm not in the film world, so. But anyways, he says this thing like, in order to catch the ball, you have to want to catch the ball. And I'm like, oh, yes, like that makes so much sense. Um I encounter this a lot in my coaching work and in my own self, and I would say that to me it's like, yes, this is what I mean when I talk about foresight. It's like you have this idea or this vision of the way that you want things to be, what you want to do, what you want to bring forth, and it's more of a decision to me than like the waiting. So it's like, yeah, like you want to catch the ball, you actually have to try. And I'm not sure if I'm connecting my thoughts, but that to me, it is so evident how there is a chasm between having the idea of something, having a desire for something, and actually like deciding to do the thing. And the beautiful thing to me about deciding to do something is that the journey can still be the same, and it doesn't need to turn into an efforting thing. It's just
What do you
like
mean
it.
by that? The journey can still be the same as what?
So um as not deciding. So I think that what keeps people from deciding a lot of the times is this fear that it's going to bring pressure, that it's going to like ask too much of them, and like maybe they're not able to actually say all these things. But there's a difference between people that decide. The way that you talk about things changes. Oh, I have this idea, or I'm thinking about doing this, is different than saying, like, I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to write this book. Like, I'm going to X, whatever it is different. But the journey is having a decision that you're going to do it. And what you're doing is you're committing to the process to figure it out. It doesn't mean you are committing to the outcome. Like, nobody knows what the outcome is. And
Mm.
I mean, I have like so many examples, but I'll use the one that's just like the most real for this right now. I have this children's book that I'm working on, and it came as an idea, and I was like so consumed by the idea, and I knew I knew, like, I have lots of ideas. So I was like, if I don't do anything with this, it will just always have stayed this idea.
Hmm.
Everybody is capable of having the ideas, and I think that most people are capable of fulfilling the idea if they just do it. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to do this book. But I initially was like, I'm going to write this book because the story is so special. The intent of this book is so meaningful. I'm going to write it for my son and his best friend before we moved. And that was the That was the target audience, these two little boys.
Oh my God.
And so I got going, and my initial decision was like, I'm going to create this book. And I was like, if it ends up just being pictures that I actually have and I put them together and I write the words, that's good. Because it's like the story and the meaning is what I want to convey. So it doesn't really matter what it comes to be. And
Mm.
yet, because I started following the process, more and more creative resources came. And I ended up deciding to paint all of the pictures and like use these watercolors that I had just bought. And they're like made in Santa Fe. They're these like really awesome watercolors, but my color palette was really limited. And even that ended up being so special because all of the pictures are uniform looking now because it's like using a
Yeah.
limited thing. And
Yeah.
anyways, so then as I started to work on it and I had like half the pictures done, I hit a major roadblock because we moved and I no longer had the structure. But I was also really overwhelmed because I was like, I have put so much more time in this than I ever intended. I'm still not finished. The work in front of me is still long. And this is turning out a lot better than I ever thought it would. And so then I was blocked by this feeling of like, I can't just print two copies of this book. Like this story will resonate with more. And so
Uh,
then I just was stuck there for like months and months and months. And then just recently, I was able to finally realize, like, okay, what am I really hung up on? And it was like the technicalities of finishing the book had just became like, buying a scanner and at least trying or seeing what publishing it with a publisher would look like or self-publishing it and just like not wanting to do that whole marketing thing, anyways. But I was like, okay, no, I'm going to finish the book. So I recommitted to my decision to just finish the book. And then I realized that what was actually stopping me from continuing the illustrations was like some of the pictures I didn't have a photo reference to go off of. And I had like made them up. And so having these like made up pictures like looked so dumb to me in contrast to all of my real pictures. And so, anyways, it gave me the incentive to do some deep diving and to look and see like what do I have to work from. I might not have the perfect pictures from like a real moment in time, but what other pictures can I find of these boys and mix them together and have real references. And oh my gosh, so much better. So now everything is going ahead and I still don't know. My bare minimum is just to publish the two books, but then I'm like, I do want to at least submit it and see what the publishing prospects are. And if not, then I will publish it. But those almost feel like the extraneous details now
mm,
because the actual work of creating this book has been so beautiful and healing because I did a lot of this work before we moved in the months leading up to our move. And it was like such a wonderful way to process the move and friendships and this life that we had built. And then to now have the reverse of that, like the reflection in the painting process, like it's been such a good journey for me to be on. And creating the story is what gave me the tools and the vocabulary and the empathy to be able to talk to my son about his friendships when we moved. So I don't know how I got there, but I guess what I was trying to explain was how the journey is still like a mystery and it's not like deciding, I think comes with the tone that it's like I'm just going to push through no matter what. And I just don't think that's what it is when it comes to creativity.
mm, mm. Oh, Jen, that's such a gorgeous arc. Wow. There is so much in what you said that I just loved. It's so interesting that you say, like, yeah, all that feels like extraneous details. And then now at the end of that arc, you have this deeper connection with your son and, probably maybe for yourself in the reflection of moving, which is so beautiful. And another thing that I thought was so interesting was that it was, there was a scanner and they were like, your mind kind of went to these external logistics. But then as you got quieter, it was like, oh, wait a second, there's something about the paintings that you wanted to change. And so maybe that was a little bit more internal. Um, and that you're still just working through it now. And I also love, I think it is so wise, and so many people would benefit from hearing this, myself included, of just the deciding to do it and knowing that your life is not immediately going to change.
Mm.
After you clarified that, I was like, oh, yeah, wait, I get that. That resonates so much. And taking the small steps, just these constant small steps to keep bringing it to life and getting so much out of the process of doing it.
Okay, such a good segue, Jess, because this
Mm.
was another part that I was really hoping we could talk about
Mm.
because Julia talks about that so much about like the process and not the destination.
Mm.
And yeah, like the fear of your life changing. You just said something that I was like, okay, I'm just going to read this. As Black creatives, we like to pretend that a year or even several years is a long, long time. Our ego plays this little trick to keep us from getting started. Instead of allowing ourselves a creative journey, we focus on the length of the trip. It's such a long way, we tell ourselves. It may be. But each day is just one more day with some motion in it. And that motion toward a goal is very enjoyable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, to me that felt like such a mic drop. I'm like, yes, like the reward for doing creative work is you get to enjoy the creative work.
1000%. Yes, 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 yes,
So
yes.
I'm like, okay, how and like maybe that's the conditioning we need to get rid of. Is like, what are we getting in our way that's keeping us from just enjoying this? Like, is it what
Mm.
would be getting in your way from enjoying?
It's something about prioritization. And if I do this and take on these creative projects, does that make me really unstable? Which we've talked about this a few episodes ago, a little bit. Does that make me really unstable? And the responsible thing for me is to just focus on my contract work and give very little time to the creative work. And so there is a villainization seems too extreme of the creative. There's like an outcasting of it, and there's like, why would this be useful?
Mhm.
This is just fun in games. Something like, do a puzzle and then put the puzzle back in the box. So what was the point? Because then there's this stress of like, I could be spending my time in all these other ways. But what I'm understanding is when I can sink in and I don't have those stresses about other things, I really enjoy it. And I kind of want to experiment with what happens when joy leads the way. Joy leads the
Mm.
way in this work. And then that joy gets upcycled back into the corporate work. And let's see what happens when that corporate work has sparks of joy.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. To me, this feels it feels like obvious. Like everybody will agree with me that here's this, but it's like yes, like that has to be the way. Like I know it's so much harder to do it for yourself, but hearing you say that, I'm like, of course, your contract work, your corporate work will be better if you are doing it with that energy. Like absolutely, and
Yeah.
and so like more prosperity, like more ease, like it makes so much sense, but I know it feels sometimes impossible to believe it and to practice it and then to continue it, especially when like rocks get thrown in the way or whatever. But
Yeah.
it
Wait, Jen.
feels, yeah,
Oh, no. Continue. Sorry.
that's okay. I
Okay.
mean, it feels like you are totally onto something. So what are you envisioning this would look like for you?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say something that came into my head. I'm so curious if this is the same for you, but I think what this would require is uh okay. I was initially going to say devaluing the corporate work. But and then it's really giving more value and taking the creative work seriously and taking myself seriously. And she talked about that last chapter, and I had that circled in big letters like, wow, I think I have a lot more room, a lot more work to do here. I think I'm very new on this journey of taking this type of work seriously. And I think, I mean, growing up, to think about the friends that I hung out with in high school, the mentors and other people in my life who like no one ever really said like, "Oh yeah, take this work seriously." And
Mhm.
that's okay. And then that's not their responsibility, but what a gift for that to be my responsibility for myself now and to rewrite what I want to guard and give time to, almost like you give time to your kids. Like, let's give time to this creative expression because I know that's important and I trust it and I love that.
Mhm.
Um, okay.
Yes.
So I kind of was wondering, I was like, Jen, you produce so many creative projects and creative work, so brilliant all the time. Do you feel like you've had an easier time or different conditioning to always give time to this stuff?
Yeah, I feel like the conditioning feels very similar. I just think that I'm further along, like
Mm-hmm.
in the journey. But also it's interesting. I would say right now, the reason why I'm able to produce so much and create so much right now, which I will just say it is amazing to me too. I am sometimes like, "What? How?" Okay, and I would
Yes.
say it is because I guess I have been doing exactly what you're toying with, as I
Mm,
have
mm,
completely
mm.
chosen to put my creativity first, because I do believe that, like, that is where I get, like, power, like, it puts me in touch with my honesty, or, like, makes me honest, it puts me in touch with truth, it puts me in touch to feeling, like, connected to, you know, a source bigger than me, and it, like, helps me feel, it doesn't help me feel, like, it actually, being creative is being, like, an agent. I mean, being, like, agenic, like, action taking, like, you are doing something, like, so I feel very purposeful. Yeah, it's like it feels so good. And so what I have been, I guess, like, playing with a lot this year is um letting the ideas come fully to me, which in this book she describes as called filling the form. And I have been playing more with this, is letting them completely come into fruition, like letting my mind play them out, like seeing how I would actually approach it. And then I'm finding the money piece starts to have its place there. But for a long time in my journey, I would say that I would short circuit that a little bit, and I would get an idea and I'd start asking myself, is this idea worth investing in? Like,
Mm-hmm.
should I build this if like, do I need to know if I'm going to make money from, how am I going to make money from it? Is it going to work? And it would be a blocker. And if I decided to move forward, it then became like a focus. And I don't think that that is good. But I don't know. It's a huge conundrum because I mean, I follow so many people that are creatives and building their business. And I did this before. But the first business I ever ran was a career coaching business. And I will say, I think the career coaching, like, my coaching skills were able to come through. That was like a very effective outlet for me, but I had still packaged it into something that I knew I could sell. Do you know? Like, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't actually my creativity was coming through,
I see.
but it was like
Uh,
in service of a different, like, end. And I'm like, what could be possible if it wasn't me trying to, like, filter my creativity through something else, but just like
mm,
the actual thing. Um,
mm, mm. Okay. Oh, I have so many questions. So, are you saying that money is not part of the formula right now for you? Is it there at all? Has it dissolved?
yeah, no, unfortunately, it has not dissolved. For it to dissolve, I mean, like, that would mean, okay. Actually, I want to say this is maybe a limiting belief. Like, I think for that to actually dissolve, you would need to be in a place where your financial needs are all taken care of. Like you have a patron that is just paying your bills. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It hasn't dissolved, but I guess what I'm trying to say. So I'll take this program that I created for this summer that I shared with you, Jess. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Move and Make Art Studio, and it is a outdoor kids art series, workshop series, where we're using all like nature materials. Okay, so this idea came when my mind was like really circulating around like, oh my gosh, summer is coming up. I don't have a childcare solution for my kids yet. What's going to happen with all of my work? How am I going to be able to make my money? You know what I mean? All these
Mm-hmm.
things. And like then thinking, what do I really want to be doing with my kids this summer? And so then this idea came to my mind of these art projects that I wanted to do with them. And I just let myself fully think through it. And I actually, this is would be too long of a story for this episode, but like the vision of Move and Make Art Studio is so much bigger than this summer series. Okay. It's huge. It's probably the biggest vision I've ever had. So,
Chills.
and when it was coming to me, it came to me in the shower, and then I like spent my entire day leaving voice notes about it, talking about it, journaling ideas, and I was just crying because I was like, this dream vision feels exactly like what I would want to create in the world. Okay. Like, how did this come to me? This feels like something that I would hand over all my money for. So then I was like, I have no idea how to get there, but how can I take a next step, you know? And so, um, as I kept envisioning, like, what would this actual dream vision thing look like? I started to see, oh, in order to be able to create that product, be in the position to be able to launch something like that, I would need some proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
And it brought
Mm-hmm.
me to what eventually ended up being these like 6 workshops in the summer where I can use these to experiment with some different tools, some different ways of teaching, some different ways of working with kids and working with materials and get feedback. It's like a pilot. And all through this, the money piece was a big question mark where I was like, is this something I would just invite my neighbors to? Like, is this something that's free? Is this something that's not? And I just kept building it. But then once I actually like finished it, like I had my proof of concept in the form of a flyer, then the number like of what to charge was so clear because I saw the value that I would pay as a parent. And then I also by that point had realized that there was a lot of costs. Even though it's like outdoor thing, I still had to like reserve a park shelter. I still had to buy materials, spend hours of my time preparing for everything, you know. But it wasn't like it's not something that's built around making money, if that makes sense. And that might be kind of like a unique situation, but I think it felt really different because I felt so convinced and compelled that this idea is worth seeing through, whether it requires an investment from me or not.
Mm.
And then, and because I'm usually will always like discount things a lot. So then to be able to like charge a price for it and realize, okay, this will cover my costs and pay me. This feels so good, you know?
Yeah. Wow. So Jen, tell me if this resonates, but first of all, this is just amazing. It feels like this was inspiration, vision led, heart led. You took steps into it to create and bring the proof of concept to life. And yeah, as soon as you saw this flyer, which looks amazing, and the website, and you created what the entire vision looks like in front of you, then the clarity came forward of what the value is, which is, mm,
And it's like that it's almost like the value question. It's like this feeling of it like just becomes like a detail.
yeah.
You know,
Ooh,
there's like not a
mm.
char I don't have like a feeling about it really anymore. It's just kind of like
It's a detail.
this is what it is. And of course, the fears that come into my mind is thinking like, oh, there's probably people that are looking at this and they're like, what? The library offers these things for free. Why would I pay money for this? But this is so intentional of what I'm going to like pack into this. This is a different experience than just a free event. And I'm just going to trust.
Yeah.
And I got the first people sign up.
Yes.
Like the
Oh
day I opened registration. And Jess, I have to tell you this because we're talking about this now. This is incredible. Like, again, I built this and I was like, okay, have 10 spots because I want it to be manageable. So it's not super huge. And my head was like, I just need to maybe get it in front of like, I don't know how many people it is to fill. So I guess there's 60 spots if you separate each session in 10. Yeah. But then, so I was like, okay, well, I'll see if I can put the flyer home in my son's preschool class. And I reach out and I asked her, I was like, would you maybe ask the other preschool teachers if they might be open to it too? And oh my gosh, loss is gain, tying this in. This is loss is gain, okay?
Yes, let's go.
So her response is, I'm sorry, no, we can't send home flyers. You know, like that's not something. Okay. But she's like, but I'll connect you this secretary that can tell you about like our policies. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, potential barrier. And then the secretary reaches out and was like, oh, just go through, create an account here. You can submit this at the district level to be sent out to all families. My God. And I was like, wait, what? So God. I created this account and looked into it because my age range is 4 to 7. And so sending it home to the preschool students would have only gotten like the 4 and 5-year-olds. Yeah. And so now I've submitted it. It's being reviewed right now. But it fits all of their criteria. So there should be no reason. And it's going to cost so getting it in front of thousands of families. And it will cost me like about the same amount as I was going to pay in printing off flyers for like a couple of classrooms.
Oh my gosh. What? Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. Jen. I know. It's so cool. So, I mean,
this is so good. Oh my God. Does everybody hear that? Okay. This is full an episode of like inspiring, hopeful anecdotes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Aligned doors, just starting to fall down the path that are opening. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love this. Jen, this makes me so excited. Thank you for sharing this because I feel like it's infectious in such a good way. And the enthusiasm, this is so good for those of us who are in different parts of the journey. Wow. And so it sounds very easeful. Like, yeah, it's not like you put hours into the concept, but it's not like hours flagging this down and promotion plans. I mean, maybe, but
no, but I will say, and it was joyous too. It's like so fun. The only times it's not fun was when I would start getting nervous. Okay. How will this go or how will this fail? And this week it's just been on my mind as I've been driving around and I'm like, it doesn't matter if it fails. Like, seriously, what is the worst case scenario here? The worst case scenario, the worst case scenario is truly that I send an apology note and refund everybody their money and say, I'm sorry I canceled. But like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like I'm probably the only barrier between if I choose to do that for some good reason, but it's like, I only have goodness to walk into. Like, I can't even believe, Jess, because I want to make sure if you are reading through the lines, then good job. But the most incredible aspect of this is I have only lived here for 10 months. And I am about to host a incredible, like I would say a true dream that I have actually had elements of this dream in my head for a couple of years. So I've done art projects with my sons and nephews the past few summers, and it's never felt possible. And so then the fact that it like actually came to be and I saw the opening and I saw that I could do this year, and then to be received so warmly. And she's someone I haven't seen since last summer, but her response was like, oh, Jenny, she's like, what a gift this is to the community. And then she's
Oh my
like,
God.
can I share this with this group and can I post about it on social media? And I was like, I just feel so received.
So received. Oh my
And so
God.
then to think like, okay, the people that are signing up for this are all people that like this idea. They think it's exciting the way that I think it's exciting, and I'm going to get
Mm,
to spend time with them in the summer. Like, what a joy.
mm, 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 mm. So much alignment. Oh my gosh. This Jen, I mean, like going back to our logo of warm water that is refreshing and joyful and fun to be in. This is what that feels like. And it's so joyous for me to witness the joy radiating from you. I feel like it's in your energy core center and it's just
It
coming out
is.
in waves. It's
And
like,
it is. And but it's so interesting how aware I am
mm,
of how easily I can thwart that and change it if I let fear take the wheel, you know? So that's also just an
wow.
interesting thing to like remember.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the evidence or the objective truth is. If I start getting freaked out about my
Yeah.
capacity as one or failing, then the joy seeps out.
Mm. Mm. Ooh, what an important other component.
Yeah.
I love that you're aware of it. It seems like you have the tools to, I don't know. It also feels like, Jen, hearing you, it feels like you've elevated to a different level, perhaps, where it's just the fear is maybe very far on the edges.
Mm.
I don't know.
And I would say yes, and then I will also say, just because this maps to the book too
Yeah.
of what she says, is the reason
Mm.
is because I keep stepping forward. Because last week, Jess,
Ah,
okay, so Jess was
yeah.
with me last week when I was having a complete spiral, and it was related to this. And so my antidote to the spiral that I was having, because I wasn't feeling very supported, I was just feeling so afraid that I wasn't going to get support on this idea. So the antidote was that I sent the email to the schools
Wow.
asking for their support, because I was like, okay. And that's when both of those doors open. So it's like,
Mm.
okay, my resources feel a little scarce in one area, so I'm going to do something where I'm going to open up a new door. So that's where I believe, if you're feeling really stuck, but you believe in what you want to create and what you want to move forward, like find a way to take a step, even if it's like a different direction than where you're like latched onto right now, but like take a step.
Oh my God. Ooh, so powerful. I think we should just need to end on this
Yeah.
note
Okay.
because that is a mic drop and such a beautiful reminder. It's so easy to put so much weight in like one door being shut, but Jen, your story beautifully shows that it's the losses as gains. Like let's look for the next door down the hallway and can open up to even greater possibilities than we had even imagined. Oh,
Hmm.
oh my gosh. Jen, this is so fun. This is so delightful.
Oh, thank you, Jess, for a wonderful conversation. I
Such a
was
wonderful conversation.
I was thinking in terms of our logo and our picture and name. I was like, I love that every time we record, it feels like a little vacation, like
Yes.
for my creative heart.
Oh my God. I love that so much. I mean, like anytime we get on here, I'm so excited to talk. And it's so, this is fun. This is joyful for me. Oh,
Yes, same.
creative vacation.
I hope our listeners get to have their own creative vacation this
Yes.
week.
I was going to say, if listeners want to continue the creative vacation with us, maybe sign up for our newsletter. Okay. Jen, this was a great conversation. I will see you next week for week 9.
Sounds great. Can't wait.